I lost that. Yeah, let's go.
Welcome in all of my average gamers to another most average impressions. Now today we are talking about Immortals of Aveum, a game that I have kind of had on my radar for a while. I've actually had it on my wish list for a while on PlayStation, waiting for it to either go on sale or just just lower in price as it will. And I feel like this game kind of just came and went, and not nearly enough eyes got put on it. Similar to one of my really early reviews of Observer. I think this is a game, and similar to also Greedfall, another game that I think is, I wouldn't say underrated. I think the ratings on this game are fine. I think it's got like a 6 or 7. Like, the game, from what I've taken from it, isn't breaking any new ground or anything outside of maybe technically, because it is one of the first games running completely on the latest Unreal Engine 5 with all of the gizmos and gadgets and hippity hoo-ha. I don't know, the lumen and the nanite and all that. It is it looks good. It looks really good, and I'll have a few moments here where I showcase the game and how it looks. But it still has some issues. As you know, I've talked about it before. I'm not a big fan of motion blur, especially when there aren't any way to disable it or lessen it, weaken it, at least make it not as egregious. The implementation in this game of motion blur, I think, is way too strong. But I'll get more into like the performance and gameplay and game feel and stuff like that a little bit more. One thing, I really do feel like this game is from what I can tell from first impressions, it's got me hooked. Like I said, I am only doing an impressions and not a review of this video because I'm only playing a trial. Because currently the studio has a trial, at least on PlayStation, that you can download and play. I think you actually end up just downloading the full game, and then it only lets you play like the intro mission. And the game got me hooked, like I was saying, like pretty much right off. It's very intriguing. It feels very much like the set pieces and the design, the linear, it feels honestly like playing through almost like a Call of Duty campaign, except you're instead of guns, you have magic, which we'll talk about. It literally is just an FPS magic game. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the game Spellbreak, I think it was. That was a all magic battle royale, which I thought was a phenomenal idea, and I streamed it a couple times way back in the day when it first came out, and the game was a lot of fun. Another game that kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. And I think I kind of don't want that to happen in this game. Now, I know that it's not a live service game. I know there's no planned DLC that I know of. I know that it's not a multiplayer game, so it's not gonna have crazy numbers. It's not gonna have crazy longevity, because I also don't think there's any a modding scene or anything like you could with a Bethesda game. But I don't think enough people even heard of this game, which is unfortunate, which I blame on the publisher. I blame on EA. But I also got to give props to EA, because EA Originals, this is an independent studio that made this game. It's a small studio. EA Originals kind of like their independent side, their indie scene, if you will, of EA Studios. So I do like the EA Originals, and they usually come out with some bangers. Like, I remember It Takes Two, I'm pretty positive was a EA original, and that ended up winning. I don't know if it won Game of the Year or if it was at least nominated. He definitely got some awards, and so I do like that part. But they did not market this game whatsoever. I saw very little coverage of this game by any sort of content creator or streamer. I didn't really see any marketing outside of a couple reveal trailers when it was probably a month before it came out, maybe a couple months. I think I remember seeing about a year ago that's what initially got me interested in it, was like the first person FPS magic. It was like, all right, this is cool. I can get down with that. Because I always feel like first person magic just never quite feels fun or engaging. Like, it's cool, but like I always end up like games like Skyrim or any game where you can pick between hack and slash or melee of some build, or you can do magic. I feel like I always end up going with a melee build. It feels more contextual. It feels more engaging to me than just kind of shooting off spells that you don't really feel the impact there. But this game does a pretty good job with that. So I'm gonna shed some light on it today. We're gonna talk about Immortals of Aveum, and hopefully at the end of this, let me know what you think. Hopefully you'll go try the game out. At least give the trial a try. That's free. Download the trial, try it out. Come back here in the comments, let me know what you think. Hit me up on Twitter, DM me on Discord. Definitely let me know what you think of the game. I'm intrigued. Once I get some more of these other projects I got going right now finished, I think I might go back and actually buy the game and try the full game out and do a review and see if the full game holds up to my initial impressions. Because I will say, without going much deeper into the video, my initial impressions are good, but they're not perfect.
One hell of a next wave.
Sandrak's overextending himself.
Intelligence briefing say that? Or are we just hoping that's the case?
We're just hoping.
Today's the day they turn tail, sir.
Switch on and get to the forward bastion.
Yes, sir.
Jack.
Right off the bat, we'll talk about visuals, because that's just clean, clear as day, easy to see. Even with YouTube's algorithm and compression bogging it all up, it still looks great. The only time the game doesn't look good is, again, I think the motion blur is way too strong, and I think it actually decreases from the game rather than adds to it, in my opinion. But when it comes to animations so the animations are good when the game is running right, but every once in a while there's a little hitch here and there, and again we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into performance. But when everything's running great and it's running a smooth 60 FPS, the animations look great, especially like the spell casting and stuff like that. But like just the facial animations and the character movement and stuff like that looks on par with anything else in the AAA space right now. Especially, like I said, I don't know if you quite call this an indie studio. It's definitely more of like a AA game, I guess. But I would say it's on par with anything else in the industry. Now, as far as like the actual graphics and visuals, I don't know what this game is running at natively. I know Digital Foundry, they did, shout out to them. I feel like I shout them out in a lot of videos. If you want to get more of the technical side, definitely check them out. I'll try to remember to link them in your description below. Go swing on over there and definitely check out, what the game is on a technical aspect. Like I said, it definitely doesn't run perfect. I had a few issues here and there that even, my naked eye could notice. The game just looks really good though. Like like I said, the set pieces are over the top, and it definitely like sucks you right in. Like I had like a little smirk for most of the game. Most of the time I was playing, it was definitely, I wouldn't say on the edge of my seat, but I definitely was engaged and wanted to keep playing. And when the trial ended, I was ready for some more. Now, like I said, we'll get to that later. But right off the bat, right on the first scene, as soon as the game opens, I was like, wow, yeah, this game definitely looks good. Unreal Engine 5 is definitely holding up and doing, what it's claiming to do. Now, Obviously, we're early on in the engine. There's going to be more updates. It's going to be more widely used and implemented, and I think we'll start seeing a lot better games on average. Like, I mean, you look at what they can do in Unreal Engine 4 right now compared to what it did, like, even in the tech demo for Unreal Engine 4. Like, the tech demo for Unreal Engine 5 was fucking out of this world. But yeah, visually, the only thing I didn't really like, I would say that the hair model and textures are a little like stiff. Those don't look super great in my opinion. I think some of that comes down to the implementation of FSR. It kind of makes the game look a little grainy, and when things are in motion, there's a little bit of a ghosting effect, and that really, you know, hinders the visuals of the game and the graphics of the game. And I'll try to point out here some of the ghosting, right? Especially when you're switching between magic, like that's when you can really see the ghosting on his right arm there. Now, another thing that really the last thing I want to say about the visuals is the environment. I think for like right up in front of you looks really, really good. I think that the like really fucking good. Like the textures and the way everything sits and looks, and the global illumination from Lumen and the lighting and everything looks really, really fucking good, especially in HDR. But it for some reason, the distant stuff, though good, just I feel like isn't like anywhere. And I mean, obviously the distant models aren't gonna look as good as what's right up in front of your face, and like that's not what I'm trying to compare. I guess that the jump from this to like what this game looks like compared to, say, what I was just playing on Gotham Knights, all right, which I'm pretty positive is on. I don't even want to say that because I'm probably wrong about that. But like you can clearly see the jump in visual fidelity on Unreal Engine 5 and the texture models across the board, and how everything can and does look, especially running at 60 FPS, whereas you don't really notice the jump in distant models, I guess. But I'm also not like zooming in, doing like the 300x zoom like Digital Foundry do. So like I said, when it comes to maybe some of that stuff, swing on over there and check it out. But just initial impressions, like the Oz there, the scenery looks great, the interiors look great, the atmosphere is really good, like especially in the opening scenes when you're just walking around the town and stuff. I really enjoyed the atmosphere, minus the NPCs. The NPCs just kind of seemed like set dressing rather than actual, and I get that it's a linear game, but you kind of just heard like background grumbling and stuff rather than like actually going up to NPCs and overhearing like conversations. And like that's just the type of stuff I like to do to kind of immerse myself into a game. It's just people watch. I like to people watch in real life, and I like to people watch even in games. So, you know, as far as visuals go, we'll leave it at the fact that it looks really good. I'm not like your technical graphics guy, and I'm also not really much of a graphics snob, but this is definitely like top tier, one of the best looking games, especially coming out of a AA studio. Now, if you want to compare it to something like Spider-Man 2 that just came out, or God of War Ragnarok, okay, let's get some, or even Baldur's Gate 3, running that on Ultra, or something like Starfield. What's another new game that just came out that looks really Final Fantasy 16. Now that's a visual fucking looker. I think that would be the most highly comparable game to this that I can think of right now. It just but I think the main thing you're going to take away from this is just the overall texture quality across the board is it's really good, and global illumination really helps. Like it's kind of crazy, because I'm just diving into PC, and I know I'm about to ramble here a little bit, but it's kind of crazy the difference between what like good shadow quality and poor shadow quality can really bring. And like good shadow quality brings like massive depth to like textures, little like cracks and crooks and crannies and things like that. So the global illumination on display here is really good, outside of the pop-in. Definitely some pop-in, and I think that'll kind of transition us into the performance. So performance is good, above average, I'd say. If you take a, like, it's tough to tell because, like I said, the motion blur is really strong, and I don't know how well that's going to transfer on the video and like on YouTube and stuff, the actual motion blur. But when you're playing it, and part of it is because I'm biased, I really don't like motion blur. I like per object motion blur, especially on FPS games, and like Cyberpunk does a really good job at that. A lot of like Call of Duties does a really good job at that. Like per object motion blur, I think is a lot better than an overall, just like, it just looks like a smeared scene to me. And then there's these weird little hitches here and there, and I think that, yeah, those are the two big glaring, I mean, I don't, because I can't even say that motion blur is a performance issue, but the fact that you can't change or turn motion blur off in any way and alter it in any way, I think that has to do with something to do with the performance of the game. I think that maybe I know motion blur can kind of hide imperfections here and there, especially in motion, but I also feel like maybe it's because of the hitching here and there and the slight, visual stutters mixed with motion blur, and that's why it feels off from time to time. And then you can just absolutely see like frame drops when everything's fucking going off, all the particles, all the magic, everything's fucking blasting off. Like I have a couple of scenes here that you'll see where definitely some frame drops. I don't know how well it's going to show in the video, but there are some significant frame drops. Now, like I said, it's an independent AA studio. They're working on the game. The game is definitely better than what I saw from reviewers at launch, at least on my impression in my playthrough. I only had like really 2 scenes that the game like really stuttered, like really, like it felt like the frames dropped down to like 15 or 20. Really dropped down. But other than that, like the game was pretty steady. It feels like it's probably not a lock 60, more like in the low 50s is what I would say the game feels like. And then the last thing I would say on performance is probably the pop-in. When you're on interiors, you don't notice really any pop-in, but when you have long drawn out like background, like you can notice a lot of pop-in here and there, especially when you're moving and turning. Like you'll probably see it here and there in a few different scenes, especially in the beginning when I'm checking out the opening town there. It definitely, you can notice some pop-in, especially like shadow pop-in, not so much like texture pop-in, but actual like shadow and object pop-in. I feel like because of Nanite, the texture quality is pretty solid. Like I never really noticed a spot where I was like, oh shit, it looks like that's just smudgy texture. Like I never had any of that. Like not one time did I have anything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about performance. I think the game runs pretty good, slightly above average, and like I said, I think the studio is definitely punching well above their weight. I've never even heard of the studio. So while recording this, I just quickly decided to look it up. Ascendant Studios is the name of the studio, and this is their first game. Now, on their website, they call themselves a AAA studio. They do say they're independent, but they are a AAA studio. So maybe calling this a AA game is, maybe I was wrong there. I still would probably call this a AA game, in my opinion. I don't know the total length. I just know that it's not overly long, and it doesn't seem like a game that's going to have a ton of side activities and stuff like that. Now again, I could be completely wrong. I'm going off first impressions, just the trial here and what I can deduce from that. Now it does look like there's a pretty in-depth gear system, which is exciting, which is great. I like to min-max, and I like to try and play around with different builds and stuff like that. So not a ton, not to where it's like a third of the game. Like sometimes looter shooters and things like that can be a little overbearing, even though I am playing Gotham Knights currently. Yeah, so it's kind of nice that this game is more linear, and I think that's the one reason why this game also feels like refreshing and fun and like really exciting, is that I haven't played just like a straight linear like game so long. Like outside, like Final Fantasy was the last like linear game I played, and again, I think that's why I enjoyed that so much, because I definitely enjoy my open world games. Like I'm having fun with Gotham Knights. Has its issues, we'll get there on review. I enjoyed Spider-Man 2, I've enjoyed my time. Oh, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3. Now that's a game that I have just about beaten for a second time, and that's why it's taken me so long to work on that. Like, I know I'm way past like the review window on that, so that'll probably be one of my longer, more in-depth videos. I got a lot of footage on that right now, but that game is, you know, so I enjoy my open world exploration, finding little hidden quests and environmental storytelling that you get with Bethesda games and open worlds and things like that. So I enjoy that, but I feel like so many games have gone to open world, or even like hub open worlds, you know, like God of War in that series, you know, so it's just kind of nice to feel like I'm playing more of a straightforward linear game, because even Final Fantasy was like kind of like your little hubs, and those hubs, like I said in my review, were kind of boring. So this game, I didn't see any of that. Everything seemed pretty straightforward from point A to point B. Now there was a little bit of exploration. You know, I found a little hidden chest here and there. You can jump up, double jump, dash, things like that, and find, like, you know, other little platforms that are above or below you, and find, you know, gear and gold and mana. I don't exactly know what picking up the red, green, and blue mana. I didn't quite get an explanation on that. Figure out exactly what that is. The other thing that I didn't figure out, if this game has some sort of like main hub, like you kind of go to the main hub, maybe craft some gear or something like that, and then go back out on missions. That it didn't show any of that, at least in the intro that I played with the trial. But what I did play was, like I said in the beginning, was it really reminded me of a Call of Duty campaign. You know, linear, a few little side Easter eggs or things that you can find here and there, but just straight, you know, from one objective to the next objective, to one cinematic, to gameplay, to another. It's just, and it was a ton of fun. And the set pieces were like straight up over the top and out of this world. And that's when you can really see friggin' Unreal Engine 5 taking off, is on these big open grand set piece. Like, I can't say it enough how much fun. Like, honestly, like, check this one out right here. Like, this one put a smile on my face. I think this might have even been in like some of the promotional video, but still, either way, like, when you see this like in person, and like as you like just here, I'll shut up and just look. So I do think that this game deserves some more people to play. I think this studio deserves all the support that it can get. I like this game. I would like to see maybe some DLC for this game, or even like hear about a sequel coming to this game, because the gameplay, now that's where this game outside of the frame rate dips and the performance, the gameplay is where this game is absolutely going to shine. It is, you know, it is an FPS game, so if you like any sort of FPS story or linear, you know, like I said, if you like COD campaigns, if you enjoy those, then you are gonna absolutely love this. Now there are other games I can compare this to. I actually saw some comparison, not necessarily in like narrative direction or full-on game design, but like the gameplay itself and like the innovativeness of an FPS, like BioShock. Reminds me of that, and like the innovativeness of magic and FPS and the combination of the two. Now there are no weapons that I saw outside of your magic abilities and like melee, you can punch people, but I can see the comparison there. It is, you know, and it also reminds me of like kind of like Borderlands, and like that's more just because that game's like really colorful and like fun, explosions here and there, and like, so it's a really fun kind of like not that it's easy, but like shut your brain off and have fun type of gameplay. And I think that's why this game really shines, in my opinion, and why I definitely recommend it. Definitely go and at the very least get the trial. Like I was saying, it's free. Okay, guys, it's free. Now, the one like downside I had with some of the like gameplay choices is I don't like that you at least from what I could tell, you can only like individually swap between the 3 types of magic. So I kind of like to have like a wheel, because like if I want to go like I'm using blue magic, which is kind of like your sniper magic, your long range precision magic, I guess would be the best way to put it. And then into red, which is I think they called it like chaos or something like that. Like that's your like more shotgun or widespread close range damage type of magic. But you have to cycle between blue, then green, then red, then back to blue, green, red, blue, green, red. So that is kind of, I think maybe it's blue, red, green, but either way, sorry if I misremember, but either way, you can't like swap and do exactly the order you want to do. You have to do it in the pre-designated order every time. So like if you want to go back to, you know, blue, red, then back to blue, you can't do that. You gotta cycle all the way through, and that kind of slows it down in gameplay. So I don't know if they can do an update and just make it so like if you triangle is the button to switch weapons or switch magic, like just make it so you can hold. If you're gonna have more than one weapon or more than one ability, you gotta have a way to like select which ability you want on the fly rather than having to cycle through. In my like that's just my opinion. I think a lot of game developers have understood that and have kind of switched to that. Unless it's a 2-weapon system, you know, you got your main weapon and your side weapon, then that's fine. Okay, you got your hot swap button. But yeah, I think just adding like hold to bring up a weapon or magic wheel so you can pick which magic you want when you want it, I think would be a huge addition. If they can lock down that performance a little bit better, also would be great. But either way, like I still had fun. Like the gameplay is just engaging for me. I think the story it's good. It kind of hooked me in. I want to know more about the story. I want to know more about the lore of the world, not so much the like character story. Like Jack's cool. He's kind of just like a smartass, which I always enjoy, like a snarky smartass. Like I like Nathan Drake. You know, I usually like, you know, like the Peter Parker type of character. Like I enjoy that. Like, you know, I like Laura Croft, you know, I like those. So I like that smart ass kind of snarky type of what is it, like character mold, I guess. So, you know, I enjoy Jack, but like I said, it's more the lore of the world that I think is kind of drawing me in. I like any type of world that's like surrounded with magic and stuff. It's something about having like there's like an above world and a below world, so there's like 2 worlds going on. Like there's some interesting shit going on. And I like to. And there's a lot of codexes to read, and there seems to be like a lot of little hidden like notes and things that you can find along the way and like dive deeper. So that's pretty cool for people that like to dive into lore and learn more. And that's why like the only thing that bums me out is like if I start to dive into this world and like buy the game and get all into the lore, and then you know this game doesn't do well and they don't do any DLC or they don't make a sequel, then like that's always a bummer. So that's why I really want to bring more people into the fold, get more people playing this, which is, you know, another reason why I did the Observer review way back in the day, why I did the Greedfall review, why I don't always do like the mainstream games that you can see, you know, literally hundreds of thousands of reviews on YouTube. Like you're probably going to see less reviews for this game, probably going to see less reviews for, you know, Greedfall and Observer and games like that. But they're good games. They may not be well-known studios, but you know, Ascendant, if you see this, like, you know, congratulations. I think you did a great job. I think you made a fun game. Now I said this is just first impressions, mind you. I'm gonna try and get the game, play the game all the way through and make a review, but off first impressions, I had fun, and I recommend you go out and try it as well. As always, my friends, this has been your boy Most Average. If you enjoyed the content, hit that thumbs up. You know, let me know if you like the content, even if you disliked it. You know, it helps with the algorithm, helps with you know, engagement. Leave a comment down below if you tried the trial out, or you know, if I convinced you to try it, you know, and what you thought of the game, and what were your impressions, or what's your overall take on the game. Besides that, my friends, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sexy, and go make some average plays for your boy. I'm gonna catch you on the next one. I'm over, I'm out. Deuces, y'all.